Adventures with Don. For today's adventure, we're going to travel to the Oregon coast. Specifically, we're going to go to Astoria, Oregon, at the mouth of the Columbia River. Hoping to see some good sights up there, a lot of ships on the river, and see what else we can find. There's even a national park up there, Lewis and Clark National Park. Got to check that out. So let's see what kind of photos we can get. It's kind of cold here this morning. Hopefully the coast will be a lot warmer. So let's get everybody in the car, get everything packed up, and let's hit the road. Astoria is about 10,000 people, and it's on the Columbia River right before it goes into the Pacific Ocean. It has a tendency to rain there. The 2 times we've gone, that's what we've met each time. It's also a Coast Guard town, and 2 cutters were actually docked at the pier while we're there. They also have a air contingent out at the local airport. And I was pleasantly surprised that you could walk right up to these cutters to take photos. My experience in the past is you can't even get close to them. So that was a nice treat. We decided to visit the Washington state side of Columbia River. To do that, we crossed over the Astoria-Megler Bridge. Or is it the Astoria-Megler Bridge? It was finished in 1966. It was the final leg of US 101 between Los Angeles and Olympia, Washington. The bridge is 4 miles long and reaches a height of 200 feet over the Columbia River. It is the longest continuous truss bridge in North America. Prior to the bridge, there was a ferry system that took people across the river. Although it took a half hour to travel it, and it didn't operate during inclement weather, which is probably quite often. Today, over 7,100 cars travel over this bridge. One of the neat places we visited was the Columbia River Maritime Museum. This was a really neat museum that had a lot of good information, including things on fishing in the area and the challenges of traversing between the Columbia River and the Pacific Ocean. They even had a boat that was on display that left Japan during the Fukushima earthquake and tsunami and was found on the beach near the Columbia River entrance. They also had this neat display of a retired Coast Guard lifeboat in a reenactment of trying to save someone in the high waters. Another neat thing they had was a retired Coast Guard Columbia lighthouse ship. You could walk through it and see things. They say that when it was active, they took this out in the ocean and anchored it. And if you're a crew member, you spent 2 weeks on the ship and 1 week in port. And they happened to mention that seasickness was kind of a common problem. Well, it sure would be for me. And if you happen to be a ham radio operator, They have in their old radio room ham radio setups, and they actively use it during special ham radio events. For the record, Zach Baggins, I wasn't afraid. While driving in Warrenton, which is west of Astoria, we kept seeing all these elk crossing signs and warning signs, elk and etc. We thought that's funny because we have elk in our area and we hardly ever see them. Well, then we saw some. In a subdivision, they were in carports, on decks, laying all over people's yards. People were even honking their horns just to drive out of their own driveways. In the evening, we drove up to the Astoria column. This column is 125 feet tall, and it was first envisioned to rifle the Eiffel Tower. It was dedicated in 1926, and the artwork that encircles it depicts the history of when the first settlers came to the area up until 1893. It was very impressive to see. The last place we visited was Fort Stevens State Park. This fort was established to protect the entrance of the Columbia River from people like the English. The fort was then decommissioned after World War II. Zach Baggins apparently can't find a picture of a ghost, but I did. I even heard voices and footsteps, but that might have been the other visitors. Despite the rain, we enjoyed our visit to Astoria. There's a lot of things to see, and even more that we didn't see. Hopefully we'll go back and try to find out some more stuff. Hope you enjoyed the venture, and thanks for watching.